Halfway through his meal, the prisoner suddenly dropped the spoon he was holding. He noticed that half of it had fallen into shadow. Mike paused thoughtfully, then kicked the spoon back toward the door and quietly covered it with his foot. Soon enough, the guard came to collect the meal trays. The careless guard didn't even glance down before gathering up the dishes and walking away. The moment the guard left, Mike snatched up the spoon and began grinding it repeatedly against the rough floor. Before long, he tested the sharpened utensil's effectiveness. To his surprise, with just a gentle pry, the wooden plank on the cell door immediately loosened. Seeing the enormous gap that suddenly appeared before him, Mike made a bold decision on the spot. But realizing it was still daylight and guards could come by at any moment, he didn't dare act rashly. He could only hide the metal spoon for now. When night fell, Mike resumed his plan. Using the sharpened handle, he gradually widened the crack between the door planks. To avoid detection, he stopped every 2 minutes or so to listen carefully for any sounds outside. At the slightest hint of anything unusual, he'd immediately freeze, and only after confirming it was safe would he continue. After 2 solid days of scraping, the wooden plank had clearly begun to loosen. To get his body through, he'd need to remove 3 planks. As the gap became more obvious, Mike rolled blackened bits of paper into thin strips and stuffed them into the cracks to block the light. He handled every detail with extreme caution. During the day, Mike acted as compliant as any other prisoner while secretly observing the layout of the first-floor guardroom. At night, he continuously scraped away wood shavings. Finally, one evening, he determined the crack was large enough to remove the planks. Mike inserted the spoon handle into the gap and pressed down hard, but the spoon snapped clean in 2. Mike grabbed a rag and wrapped the spoon tightly, but aside from making a harsh creaking sound, the plank showed no response. Clearly, he needed another spoon. The next day at mealtime, Mike acted quickly, smoothly snagging one from the windowsill. Back in his cell, he didn't hesitate for a second. He immediately inserted both soup spoons into the gap and pried with all his strength. Because the upper plank was already weakened, a large chunk broke off completely. Mike instantly replaced the fallen piece of wood, then gathered up the scattered splinters and filled them back in, determined to leave no trace that the guards might notice. Next, he carefully colored over the exposed white scrape marks with pencil, and finally hung a towel over the upper part of the door. Until his plan succeeded completely, he wouldn't allow a single flaw to remain. After days of repeated attempts, Mike finally removed the wooden planks from the cell door completely. But he didn't rush into action. Instead, he immediately reinstalled the planks and replaced all the loose wood chips. Only after repeatedly calculating the time needed to remove and reinstall them did he take the planks down again. With no guards in the hallway, Mike grew bolder. He climbed along the exposed steel bars up to the skylight and hauled himself